Hello everyone, in today's video I'm going to be demonstrating how to clean the litter robot. This is a kitty cat litter robot 3. I actually picked it up out of the trash. Can you believe it? And when I first went ahead and picked it up, I did see that the key in the back was misaligned from the globe to the base. I did also take some notice to the inner rubber liner. Looks a little funny dunny, but I am going to physically take it apart myself and clean it to see if it is worth salvaging. It did come with its proper power cord, which is awesome. And for this cleanup repair job, I am wearing gloves and I am going to utilize the most natural products that I can possibly utilize. So let's see if I can take care of business as far as the Happy Kitty litter robot. Okay, so first of all, it is very bulky. It's a bulky item. And some of the parts are easily removable. This is like a litter catch tray, so that's pretty easy to separate from the unit. And this whole tray actually comes outward. Once you remove this, it will expose the inner tray as well for the unit. So I'm pulling it out just to see, take a peek inside. Doesn't look too bad in there, if you can see, but the carbon filter that's supposed to be on the inside of the unit is actually on the underside. So that normally would sneak in this area, is where that carbon liner would go. But it's back there. It is washable, then dry. And this whole bottom underside, realistically, I can utilize like Lysol and like antimicrobial cleaners, but I'm gonna stick all natural. So I'm gonna go with like vinegar and like unscented baby wipes, things like that, because Kitty will be trying out the unit in the long run, hopefully. Once you get this whole liner removed, you can go ahead and set it aside and obviously start cleaning it piece by piece. There's 3 pieces: the carbon liner filter, the cat litter catch tray, that's just a rubber piece, and then obviously the plastic. Okay, now here's an inside look as to the inside of the litter robot. If you look back here, there is a little wire. Now on the underside of the litter robots, there is an option for a battery backup that you can go ahead and purchase for like about $15 on like Amazon, for example. This way, in the event of a power outage, if you lose power, your litter robot will still work. So that's some of the wires, so you want to be careful, but you can stick your arm in there and clean it out and do as you please to clean that as thoroughly as you will need to. On the side here, you'll notice these are the electronic components of the unit. And if you creep towards the back, that is the power adapter. So that's where you would plug in your power cord. I have already disconnected the power cord, and because I'm trying to take it apart and clean it thoroughly, as opposed to worry about whether or not it works or anything like that. Okay, so now I'm going to separate the bonnet from the globe. So I am going to push inward on each of these sides and lift upwards at the same time to remove the bonnet from the globe and the base area. Pretty simple, didn't have to go ahead and apply too much pressure, but it separates from that side area. And same thing over here, and then it tilts backwards. Now there are 2 clips that get put in position in the back there, so just do keep that in mind for reassembly. One of the clips, it looks like, is present, but on the other side it doesn't look like it has like that metal area. So if you look over here It has a metal clip on this side, but it doesn't have a metal clip on the other side for the unit that I am disassembling at the same time. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and separate the bonnet from the unit and just set it down. That could probably just be wiped down. There are electronics in there as well, so you want to be careful not to saturate them too much, of course. Now this is normally if you were to have the empty cycle on, where the litter would dump out towards the bottom. So it's not in the empty cycle, but again, because it's a unit I picked up out of the garbage, I want to clean it first before I even begin to consider testing it. So there's all these little components and things like that. I don't want to mess with them too much. On the inside, you can see it's a little bit of dust from the litter that the individual was utilizing, but at this point, because I took off that top side, I can literally lift this up from the base and it separates completely. So this way I can go ahead and get a better cleaning towards the bottom area and go from there as far as seeing whether or not the unit is working or able to work, or if I want to go ahead and choose to utilize it. The inside of here definitely looks super duper nasty. Definitely could utilize a good wipe down. They probably sell some replacement liners as well that I can go ahead and purchase. I haven't checked into pricing or things like that. And also whoever had it obviously didn't spend the time to realign the rubber liner very well or anything like that. So it could have been something simple. The reason for them throwing it out, I'm not exactly sure, but my job now is to clean it, see if it works. If it does work, go from there. So at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and get my cleaners together and clean up the unit a little bit and see what kind of magic I can do. All right, so for the base, I have sprayed it down with some vinegar, dilute it with a little bit of water, and now I am going to go ahead and wipe down the base, and also I've sprayed the inside, and I'm gonna do the same as well. Okay, so here is where I'm at as far as cleaning and that. I do notice a lot of debris of cat litter residue left behind. My suggestion to you would be to go ahead and possibly take a vacuum with a hose extension. Try to vacuum up any kind of litter debris you come across. But do also want to point out here on this litter robot, there is a clear cover, I guess, here to help glide the globe, but it's not present on here. I'm not sure if that's normal, not normal, what the case is. But before I go ahead and actually reassemble it, I am going to make sure I put some sort of lubricant on the cat litter robot to help to ease the gears and the turning of the unit itself. Here is actually one of the gear turners itself, and obviously I'm going to make sure it's completely dry. And I want to point out what the underside looks like, because the underside is where that battery pack would go if you were to purchase one, as I said. And there's a lot of like cat hairs and things like that, so you want to make sure you're definitely going ahead and cleaning those up too. The underside can get a lot of webs and cat hairs and things like that trapped on the underside, so make sure you take care of that if you're cleaning the unit like me. Okay, so now I'm done wiping down for the most part the entire underside of the unit. This part is unfortunately scratched from regular usage. Overall, looks pretty good, and the inside looks like so after giving it a quick clean. And there is the internal components of the unit. This obviously looks like it is a little gunked up with something, but I'm sure that's normal from everyday use. We'll try to clean that a little bit more up before I continue further on as well. Now onto spraying the bottom base, washing that carbon filter, washing the bonnet top side as well. Okay, so now I've sprayed the bottom tray that pulls out. I removed the filter and I just threw it in here for right now, as well as the top rubber litter catch part that is removable from the arrow. And I've also sprayed the bonnet, and now I'm gonna wipe them both down to go ahead and make them nice and clean as if it was a new unit. Okay, so the top bonnet is clean, and that turned out really well. And the bottom side, a few cat hairs still remain, but it turned out really well. The only thing I did take notice to is some of these screws must have loosened up along the way, because if you see here, and this could happen to you from normal everyday use, where it connects, it is a little bit loose on the one side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten up those screws and make sure I remove with like a floss pick any cat litter particles that may have become trapped in that seam line. So there is a screw on the inside here, and that would be underneath that rubber cat litter catch trap. And there's also a screw on this side. So you need obviously like a fine screwdriver to tighten them. And that would be, of course, after removing any kind of particles that got stuck in between here on this seam of this tray liner itself. The pull-out drawer, when it comes out, it does probably loosen up a little bit along the way. And since I got this out of the garbage as well, since I'm going to be unscrewing that and cleaning the underside where the seams meet, I will also probably inspect and clean behind the electronics part of the unit. I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing that unless, of course, you didn't pay anything for it like I didn't, but that's just a suggestion to make sure any litter that was remaining in the unit does get taken care of and taken out of that area to prevent further problems. All right, and now all I have left to do is the fun part, cleaning the carbon filter that's going to go back inside that tray pull-out drawer, as well as this rubber cat litter trap. And once I have everything all nice and clean, I will go ahead and put back in its proper position this litter liner as well. So I'm going to try my best and see what happens. I'm going to make sure I utilize vinegar and only natural cleaners, because this is where Kitty's going to spend their time going to the bathroom and things like that. All right, so while I'm outside, I'm going to go ahead and take a little paper towel and try to scrape up some of that cat litter and just shake it out, and then it'll be ready to like hose down. So once I'm done hosing it down and again fixing up that liner, I can put it all back together and see whether or not this litter robot will work. Once trash, now hopefully treasure for me and my cats. All right, so the litter is broken up. If you are doing something like this, I suggest you put your hand in the hole to get a firm grip on it and turn it to the underside in a nice spot in your yard or wherever you would like. So there it is, and I'm just gonna just rotate that a little bit, see if that helps it. But most of the litter has dumped out nicely and looks pretty good. Now it looks like it's ready for the hose down, hopefully. Yeah, I got all the hard parts. Again, I know on the inside of this liner there also may be some kitty litter, so it's definitely important I rinse that out too. Okay, so now I've brought the globe inside the house to hose it down. First of all, I am going to go ahead and remove these screw tab covers, and I will separate the globe to get the liner out. I can see that there is one screw cover on this side, one on this side, and I'm just going to simply go ahead and work my way around the entire globe to remove all the screws. Okay, so I took off the first one. It was really easy to come off, and I simply took a floss pick to do it. I'm going to show you exactly what I did. So I inserted the floss pick in on this side, and then I simply like tilt it upward to go ahead and remove the screw cap cover, and it actually inserted in there. So it worked out pretty well, besides having to utilize a pick in itself. So Now that does reveal the screw that I can go ahead and unscrew. So there's 4 screws on the one side, and then there's 4 more screws on the back side of the globe to go ahead and unscrew. Try to keep the unit together while you're unscrewing the globe screws, and then it simply goes ahead and separates. So it looks as though in order to get this liner off, there is going to be like a bolt to unscrew, and there's going to be a backside to it, in addition to those 8 screws, with 2 of them having screw plastic cover. So I will have to go ahead and remove this bolt from the inner liner to go ahead and then start peeling away at the liner. So to unscrew this bolt, you can unscrew with a screwdriver and hold the bolt on the other side with your hand, but if it won't come apart, then you will have to get like a socket to hold in place the bolt. But once this comes out, you can then hand unscrew it, or at least try to see if you can, but if it's not ready, just keep unscrewing it until the bolt and the screw itself does go ahead and separate. So once that's unscrewed, then you'll simply go ahead and separate it, and then take out the bolt on the other side and put these in a safe place. Now the other screws, the 8 screws that came undone, they are all the same size. This is the only one that's different so far. So now we're going to separate the liner from the globe. So it simply goes ahead and it separates on the outside, and now you'll see there's some foam over here. And once you're done washing it, obviously you're going to want to definitely make sure it's put back in place. But you're going to notice something special underneath here.
For this Litter Robot 3, it does have a weight that's found underneath the rubber liner to help assist in the movement of the cat litter.
The liner just separates right from the unit itself, and once you have that separated, now you're ready to clean out the interior plastic of this side of the globe as well as the other side, and also give this liner a good wash. Again, you want to utilize all natural products that are safe for pet, because your cat will be in the litter box. You want to aim for diluted vinegar. If it does seem like the stains aren't coming out, you do definitely want to soak it for a long time to let it sit and really cleanse the area, and then simply rinse dry and clean with some water. So I am going to go ahead and remove the weight before cleaning to make sure that this isn't just falling anywhere on the ground. This weighs approximately, I'd say, a pound. That's just an approximation. Just set it to the side, and just keep in mind when you do go to put it back inside the liner, it does fit securely on all sides around before placing it back. Okay, so now I got the half of the globe that has the liner in it, with the liner removed, in the tub. So I'm going to simply splash some vinegar into the unit right on it. So now that I have the vinegar there, I'm going to go ahead and hose it down with some hot water to get it really clean. And of course, if you had like big particles of cat litter remaining in your globe, obviously you want to go ahead and wipe them out before rinsing them down the drain. But I'm going to give this a couple times over, rinse, which is hot water and vinegar. And then as far as the liner, I'm going to let that sit more or less in the vinegar a long time. Make sure I'm getting all the good smells out. And because I did go ahead and get this out of the trash, I did go ahead and take a baby wipe, an unscented baby wipe, and wipe some of those tough stains. And now I'm going to go ahead and rinse it clean again
with some more hot water and then set it to the side to dry. And then I will towel dry it as well in addition to that. Okay, so now while I have 1/2 of the globe sitting drying, I have the more interesting part of the globe sitting next in line to be washed and rinsed out. So again, I'll be going ahead and pouring in some vinegar right directly on the unit and spray rinse it down with some hot water. Now I poured the vinegar directly in there, and keep in mind, this globe, it is used to getting wet from Kitty when Kitty uses the bathroom, so some vinegar will serve it some justice. And now I am ready to rinse it out thoroughly. So I gave it a good cleaning, and I didn't get it as clean as I wanted to. So now I'm going to go ahead and unscrew the inner skirt. That's the hard plastic liner. Careful not to lose any screws, but this is where the globe would normally empty through. So there's 4 screws, and I'm hoping this will go ahead and remove that inner plastic liner as a result. Okay, now to remove it, just simply fold it like a book on the inside, like so, and then pull up, and that will separate the hard skirt from the other side. But there's some felt on the inside, and you definitely don't want to get that too wet. You might have to replace that if you do, but it collects certainly some kitty litter. So we're going to definitely go ahead and clean this more thoroughly too. Okay, so now that this part of the globe is gone ahead and separated from the plastic skirt liner, I'm going to set it to the side, but there is still like a little bit of residue. Once I towel dry it, after it's been sitting to dry, I will wipe down some of that dust that still remains on it. But you could even go as far as separating this more. It just looks like there's like almost like a bead of caulk that lies in between the other parts of the globe itself. If you look down though the trail, you'll see screws, and then you keep looking, and then you'll see more screws that you can undo to separate this even further than what I've shared. All right, so now all I have left to do is to rinse thoroughly both the hard plastic liner as well as the foldable weighted liner, and then we will do some weight dry time as well as towel drying and get this unit back and see whether or not it is going to work. All right, so now we have gone ahead and cleaned thoroughly the inner hard plastic liner, and to put it back in place, again, you're going to have to like fold it sort of like this, like a book, to get it back in its spot, and then you can go ahead and attach the screws. But I am going to set it to the side to allow it to dry, especially considering the felt is still in pretty good shape, that I don't necessarily have to replace it. But I will go ahead and take like a little pick just to pick out those spare little parts of cat litter too after it has dried a little bit. Okay. All right, so now the inner liner is gone ahead and rinsed out, and there is some cat litter dust still remaining, but after it's done drying, I will towel dry everything before it goes back into its place. But it looks overall pretty good. And keep in mind that screw hole, that is where that screw is going to go back in its place with the bolt once I go ahead and I line up the entire liner. But that's just to give you a little idea as to what it looks like after it's rinsed away using nothing but natural cleaners such as vinegar and hot water. Okay, so the last 2 things I have to clean are the carbon filter as well as the tray cat litter catcher. That's the rubber piece. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw some vinegar on there and then let them soak, and then rinse them with hot water and then let them dry, and then it'll just be dry time until we can test out everything. Okay, and now again, it's just waiting time until everything is dry, and then towel dry, and then put back together to see whether or not it's gonna work. Okay, so it's been about a day since the whole ensemble has gone ahead and been given some time to dry. So first things first, I'm gonna go ahead and place this weight back inside the heavy rubber
insert. So I'm going to go ahead and slip that in evenly. Now, as you see, I got it uniformly tucked in. Now, to make it easier, I found it helpful to put my hand underneath the liner and actually come inward a little bit, like basically like pinching it like a little mouth to get the weight more centralized and more surrounded by the rubber material. You just want to kind of get it as best as you can in the liner. So this way it's centralized and it's going to work as intended. So hopefully you can do the same easily. And as I said, if it doesn't seem like it's sitting right, just like bend like a little mouth from the underside towards you, and that should be helpful to have that in the center so that it's back in its place as intended. Okay, so next step, I'm going to go ahead and place the liner back in the one side of the globe that does not have the empty box. So this is the ventilation area. So as you'll see, there is a perforation already sort of like scratched in place from where the liner was, where the weight should sit. So you want to make sure it goes back in that spot. But you'll see for the liner, there is this part that is almost identical to the shape of the part of the globe that we're working on. So you're going to next need to line up the weight and the liner on the edge perfectly so that you can get the liner all back in its correct position. Okay, once you have that liner in sort of like the correct position that it's going to be going, you also now want to work on putting that bolt and that screw back in place. So the screw will come through this end and then the bolt will get attached to the bottom of it, and then you're going to have to screw the liner to hold it basically in place, and then you can worry about the seam lining up around the edges. So I'm going to take this screw and I'm going to go ahead and fish it through on the underside here, and I'm going to push it so that it comes through the hole like so. See, that's the screw. And then I'm going to take the liner and I'm going to put it through, and then I'm going to bolt it in place. Okay, so now I've dropped down the liner, and again, it's not perfect just yet. Now I can go ahead and I can attach the bolt to it. Once you get the bolt in its place, it's just a matter of working by like holding the underside of the bolt a little bit with like your gloves, and then just simply taking a screwdriver and tightening it as much as possible. And if you can't hold like the bolt from the underside with like your glove or that, you can certainly feel free to grab like a socket or like a wrench to be helpful. Okay, so now I have tightened completely the bolt and the screw, and now it's time to line up the liner. I'm going to start from the bottom and then work my way around this lip of the globe, and then I'll work my way all the way around uniformly. So this lip you want to hook onward. Obviously, it's a little bit difficult to go ahead and make sure that L goes over. And then once you get this one side in place, you want to put the other L over this corner. So this way you have the correct amount of room to work with to get this edge. And then just simply pull and tuck in the rubber, like pull up and then tuck in the rubber on this side, and the same with this side until you do it all the way around and around the edge. Okay, so here's where I am at around my edge. So that's what it looks like. And then I'm just going to tuck in a little bit more on this corner area to make sure it's in as best as it can. And now I'm going to start working on the outer edge as well. Now this just seems to simply just like sort of like push in this inner seam. So like line up this rubber and just work your way all the way around. You may have to end up adjusting that center weight to keep the edge in, but I'm going all the way around, and you may need to go approximately more than one time, maybe 2 times at least, on that inner edge as well, until you get it all in there. And then this part where the felt is, it seems a little bit difficult, but you will need to use 2 hands for that, definitely. Okay, so I lined up the liner all the way around the edge, the opening of the globe, and then all the way around the inner edge of the globe as well. Now it's time to work on the other part of the globe for that hard plastic edge and see whether or not I can put that back in its proper place too. Okay, so this seems pretty simple enough. So here is the opening, like for the dump cycle area, so to say. And then here is that plastic liner. Remember, to remove it, it was helpful for me to go ahead and fold it over like a book. So I can see that from the key end, so that end, it's more like a lot more material, and where the grate is on the left hand side and the shorter side is there. And you can see, like, if you look at the globe, it's more lengthier on that side and less lengthier on this side. Okay, so I'm gonna drop it in its position. And this is the position it's gonna be in. I just need to go ahead and work it in a little bit more. So again, folding it like a book is gonna be helpful for me, at least, to fold it like a book and then insert it into the rectangular square empty part. Okay, so I sort of popped it back in its place, and there is a little nub on this side, and then there's a nub there, and then I need to make sure that the grate is in its place too. Okay, so the center empty area is in its place, and then I can go ahead and screw it in once I get confirmation on the other side. Again, these little nubs here kind of keep this in place. And then this is sort of free range because that's going to be what's going to work to scoop out the litter and things like that. Okay, so I've placed all 4 screws back in their proper spot around the empty box area. And I've started to screw them in just a little bit. And now I'm going to finish tightening them, kind of like even tightening for it to make sure that they're tightening properly. Okay, so 4 screws are tightened back in their proper position. This is also in its proper position. And then if you see me turning it over, you'll see the grate, and you'll see this skirting is behind this nub bubble and behind this nub bubble. And now I am ready to tighten the globe back up and make it look like a globe yet again. So lining up the globe is pretty simple because this is the opening and that's the opening. So that's the 2 sides that will meet. You'll probably want to put the weighted side, if you have a weighted liner, downward, and then proceed to put the other part of the globe on the top side. Now again, this is not like a replacement liner or anything else like this. I did get this technically out of the trash. I didn't pay anything for it. If you want to invest on getting a new liner and replacing it, does seem pretty simple, and it's only going to be probably about $60 plus maybe there may be tax or shipping involved, but you might be able to find them cheaper elsewhere. So now I'm going to line up both parts of the globe, as I said, and I want to make sure that I do go ahead and line them up properly. They do need to sort of like click together slightly to make sure that they're definitely together well. So like this side will have to go in more, and then this is like what the inside will look like when you're doing it. So I got my seam in right there. Did seem like there was a little bit of a difficulty. It did need to slide it in its proper place, and placement does look like it's looking pretty well. So that's great. So I'm going to start by putting the 2 screws on the entryway of the globe in their proper place. So I've tightened those up nice and snug. Next, I can move on to this seam area. So I did tighten this screw up. Next, I'm going to work my way closer to the key to make sure I'm getting this as tight as I can. And then I'll come into the other part closer to the key as well to tighten up that screw too. So this screw is now tight. Now moving on to screwing in this one. So now this one's tight. Now I'm going to rotate the globe towards me to put in this screw to tighten it in its place and get this seam closer together as well. So this screw is tight. Now moving on to this one down the line. Okay, so I have that one in its proper place. Now I'm going to rotate a little bit the globe, face it towards me, pop a screw in and tighten this last one. Okay, so this last screw is tightened. Now all I have left to do is to put the screw caps on. So I'm going to take this screw cap and I'm going to put it in, and this will hide the screw in the front view. And I've done the same for the other side. So here is the inside look of the globe, and now onto the fun part, reassembling everything back in its proper place. Okay, so recap, here is the base. Here is the excess kitty litter trap, the rubber insert that stays atop of the drawer. This is the pull-out drawer. I'm pulling out the liner drawer to install the carbon filter back in its proper position where I did not find it. This may be a little bit tricky, but seems simple enough. Line up the bottom first, slide it downward as much as you can into the insert, and then tuck it under the tabs to hold it securely in place, and keep tucking it downward so you get it just right where you want it, like I just did. This is only for demonstrative purposes. You can do it how you want to, but that's how it looks installed. Now I can close up the drawer. Okay, so next I'm going to place the globe, holding it by the empty part, just gently on the area where I sort of want it, but I need to line up the key in the back, so I need to make sure that this key is injected perfectly in the back in this position. So I have it set in its right spot, and now I need to make sure that the gear is in this round part, because the gear goes ahead and it glides across this globe on the edges, and there is a gear under there, as I did share with you before, but that's what basically turns the globe itself. So this is what it looks like so far, and now I just have the bonnet left to place on top. Now with this bonnet, there are clips on the left-hand side of mine, and the clips basically have to go in tilted backwards first. So on each of the sides, they have to be put in those little tabs. And then from that point, can be rotated forward to snap both the metal clip and the plastic clip back in their proper position. So I want to make sure that I work on this side first by pushing inward a little bit. That's why it's good. I didn't snap it fully back, and now I'm going to work on this side. Okay, so this side's good. That's the right side, and this is the left side. I did hear a little bit of a click. I'll make sure it's secure. Looks like it's all secure in its proper place, like so. So that's what it looks like so far. Now here comes the magic. Here is the power cord. So I'm going to take the power cord and I'm going to go ahead and plug it in the back side here. So I just need to make sure that I plug it in first. Doesn't really snap in place, it just sort of sits in there. Okay, so that's secure. Now I'm going to take the plug and plug it into an outlet. Okay, so now that I plugged it in, Now the next step would be, of course, to turn on the unit. Now I don't know whether or not it works or not, but I'm going to turn it on. Let's go ahead and find out if it turns on. Okay, so it definitely did turn on. Said it's cycling, and it is in its cycle mode, where if there was poop inside, it would have went down into the drawer. And there's a light in there too. The only thing that's a little weird is the weighted area, but keep in mind I don't have litter in it right now, so that might be why the weight is in the position that it is. But the light works and the unit is currently cycling. Okay, so it's cycled. And it's in its current position. And it's saying ready. So this Litter Robot 3 was taken out from the trash, and it seems as though it does work. One issue I do need to work on, which I might need like a bead of possibly caulk or something else like that to help fix, is this liner part. If I can go ahead and pop a screw in there or something, I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do, but the Litter Robot does function and work properly, even if I had to replace the felt strips and the rubber liner. We're talking $70 tops to go ahead and do that, and obviously the manual labor as well. But literally took this unit out of the trash, and as you can see, it does work. So that is absolutely amazing. The sensor goes on apparently when Kitty goes in, so that's really cool. Otherwise the light does not go ahead and come on. That is awesome. So a little help needed as far as this liner. Maybe even if I took like a little pinch clip of some sort to keep it sturdy in place, that might help. But besides that, it looks like it's functioning perfectly, which is absolutely amazing. So with this drawer though, once you do open it, you should, for owning this, have a bag liner in place so that it can go ahead and catch the litter. I'm really excited for my cats to go ahead and utilize this to see if it is going to continue to function properly, even just for finding it out of the trash and, you know, taking it apart and putting it back together properly and seeing that it works as intended. That is absolutely amazing. Realize that these units sell for hundreds of dollars, like even resale. If you look on resale sites, you're going to get at least $100 resale for this. This unit in its working proper condition can definitely sell for at minimum $200. If I replace the liner, I could probably sell it for more than $300. So that is absolutely fantastic. I did go ahead and also produce a video sharing with you all the joy and excitement of it. Of course, it's not as wonderful and fantastic as if I were to have bought it directly from the Litter Robots website and gone ahead and opened it out of the box and put it together and had it up and going like that. But to find something like this and have it has no smell whatsoever after I've cleaned it. There is a little bit of like dust that kitty litter carries. If you work in drywall, you know that drywall does stick around as well with sanding and things like that, and vacuuming with vacuums. That's the same aspect with the kitty litter. I am also going to make sure that I utilize a clumping cat litter too. So I'm going to put a bag in, and then I'm going to go ahead and put the litter in, and then I want to see how it reacts with the clumping litter and how well it performs. Okay, so since I didn't buy the Litter Robot trash bags, I did go ahead and line around the edges the garbage bag, and I sort of positioned it to cup and hold the debris in place. Obviously, there's going to be all funky things, so I put the lip. So I don't know how helpful that carbon filter will be, but once it goes ahead and starts catching a little bit, then I'll go ahead and decide to dispose of the contents and actually purchase the Litter Robot design bags. I did look it up. They do actually have it on Walmart. So I don't know if I can have them sent directly to the house or if it's something I can buy in the store. I'll have to double check that. But I do know I could buy a replacement liner for about $60. And these Litter Robot bags that are specifically made, I could buy a ton for $15. So I'll be saving so much cat litter and so much time by going ahead and having this unit available for my cat's usage. Okay, so I closed the drawer back up, made sure I was pretty careful closing that, because again, I don't have the Litter Robot bags yet available. I will have to pick those up and purchase them. Now it's time to go ahead and fill it with some clumping cat litter. Okay, so I went ahead and I put that little pinch clip there. I'm thinking I might want to put another pinch clip just to make sure it's secure until I go ahead and purchase a new liner. So I'm going to fill up the Litter Robot with some Clump and Seal Slide Easy Cleanup Clumping Cat Litter. Litter slides right out. Guaranteed 7-day odor-free multi-cat home. So inside the Litter Robot, you're supposed to fill up the cat litter to the fill line, which is going to be what's inside that weighted area. And then that'll be full, which is approximately 8 pounds of cat litter. So I'm going to shoot for that and see what happens. Okay, so I filled up the Litter Robot with the designated amount of litter. And now we're going to one time go ahead and do a cycling to share what it's like. So to cycle through, you just push the cycling button. I could also adjust the timing too. I haven't looked into how to do that, and there's an empty and there's a reset. So I am going to cycle. So let's go ahead and cycle. And it's also Wi-Fi enabled. That's incredible. So hopefully I don't lose any litter down into the dump tray. But let's see how it does. There you can get a sneak peek as to my bag. But again, I have to buy the Litter Robot bags. But now all the kitty litter will go back into the rubber liner where the weight is. And considering it came out of the trash, it looks like it's cycling pretty well. And even the light works for the cycling position too. And then I'm assuming every month change out the litter by pressing the empty button, but I haven't done that, obviously. Just started it today. So it's leveling. And that's super duper cool that that sensor works to give Kitty light in there. And it's done. So it's ready. So awesome and amazing. And I can connect to it via Wi-Fi to control it. So really awesome. And I'm sure it's going to tell me all the neat things like, hey, you got to go ahead and change that tray full of poo-poo. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. Once trash, now treasure. Also taking apart and cleaning and doing everything to get the Litter Robot 3 up and working. Thanks so much for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more great videos such as this one. And I wish you and your kitty friends all the best and more. Take care now. Bye.